All right, here I go again trying to make another video. This video is on N6.4, multiplying decimal numbers. It's important to start by reviewing your basic multiplication facts. They will be very helpful when we multiply 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. I'm going to show you 2 multiplication strategies to use. Both will work when we add in decimal numbers. Choose the strategy you find easiest that makes sense to you. Once you have a strategy, make sure that you can explain the strategy and how it works. You need to be able to explain decimal numbers in the real world and where we would multiply decimal numbers in the real world and solve problems with decimals. It's important when we're multiplying that we understand the vocabulary that comes with multiplying. We talk about our times table, multiplying product, times, groups of, lots of, multiplied by. Multiplication is groups of something. So 3 times 5 is 3 groups of 5. These are the factors of the question. It's asking for the product or the answer, which is 15. This little picture relates that to a factory is where you have your groups or the things that you're making and it equals a product. If we think of 3 times 5 in a picture, you can see 3 groups of 5 of something, which will equal a total of 15. The first step when you're multiplying a number like 6 times 5/10 is, rather than panic because you see a decimal, just ignore the decimal. 6 times 5 equals 30. That's the basic fact that you need to know. Here, to figure out where the decimal goes, you need to think about what these numbers mean. So if I have 6 halves, I would actually have 1, 2, 3 wholes. So not 30 wholes, because I only have 6 halves, so I'd have 3 oranges, or 3 decimals, 0 oranges. I can also tell I have 1 decimal place in my question, so I put 1 decimal place in my answer. Now I'm going to show you the traditional method for multiplying. I'm going to multiply 5 by 7. I'm going to get 35. Write my 5 down under the line and carry the 3. And I'm going to add that 3 on. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18. My answer is 185. If I want to do this, check it in with my mental math strategies. I know that 37 is 30 plus 7 more. So then I would times this by 5. 7 times 5 is 35. 5 times 30 is 150. Add those two together and I would get 185. Next, I'm going to multiply a 2-digit by a 2-digit number. This is sometimes called the turtle head method, and you can Google a YouTube video to see how to use the turtle head method of multiplication. 6 times 3 is 18. Carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 1, 31. Now this is, next we've multiplied by the 6, so we can cross that out, cross out the carry. Now we're going to multiply by this 30 over here. So 3 times 3 is 9, but it's not 9 because we're in the tens place. So I'm going to put my placeholders 0 and then multiply 3 times 3, 9. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to add these two numbers together and get 1,908. Now if I want to check this in my head, I'm multiplying 50 and 3 and 30 and 6. So I can multiply all the parts together. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 50 is 300. 30 times 3 is 90. And 30 times 50 is 1,500. I add all of the parts up, going to get 1,908. The next method for multiplication is called the box method. So very similar to what we were doing before, we're going to take 37 times 5 and we're going to break it into parts. 30 and 7. We're going to multiply this by 5. 3 times 5 is 150. 7 times 5 is 35. Now once the boxes are filled, it's very important that you remember to add. And this method can go very bad if we do not add everything up in columns when we're adding. So ones add to ones, tens add to tens, and hundreds add to hundreds. So 5, 8, 1, 185. When we have a 2-digit by a 2-digit number, we're going to use expanded form to write each number in its parts. So 50 and 3, 30 and 6. Now, these boxes match like this, this, all the way over to there. So 30 times 50 is 1500. 30 times 3 is 90. 50 now goes all the way down to this box. 50 times 6 is 300. And 6 times 3 is 18. Now over to the side, you need to add up all these numbers. Very careful to line thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones all up in the correct column. Now we're adding. There's lots of zeros when you line them up, when you break a number into its expanded parts. So it makes it easy to add. 1,908. Now that you know how to multiply a 2-digit by a 2-digit number, we're going to add some decimals into our questions. First step is to completely ignore the decimals. So I'm going to multiply 53 by 28. I'm going to get 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2. 8 times 5 is 40 plus 2, 42. Placeholder 0 because now I'm multiplying by 2 in the tens place. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. My numbers are all nice and lined up. I can add them up nicely. Now, I know I have to figure out where the decimal goes. And I know that 5 and 3/10 is very close to being 5. And that 2 and 8/10 is very close to being 3 wholes. 3 times 5 is 15. My answer says 1,484. That is nowhere close to 15. But if I put a decimal point right here, that would make me be 14, and 84 hundredths is indeed very close to 15. What I'm doing is counting that I do not bring the decimal down. Do you notice if you brought the decimal down, it would land right here? And that would make an answer of 148, which is incorrect. I'm going to count how many decimal places I have in my question. 1 decimal place here, 1 decimal place here. So when I go to write the decimal, I can also count 1, 2, and put my decimal. And that strategy will always work to place the decimal in the right place when you're multiplying.